I am Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit. All right, y'all. It is Friday, June 11th, 2021. We made it through another week. It is currently 55 degrees in Kitsap County. It's raining, kind of cold out there. I know I'm coming to you late. The first thing I want to do is go ahead and get the COVID report out of the way because I need to do a show tonight. There are a few shows that I wanted to do this week, and I kind of held off on doing those, but this one has to happen. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I apologize this evening because I cannot do the daily COVID check-in because the site is down today. So it's temporarily down. So if you see that happens, I would try the link later and just, keep trying to go ahead and submit your data. And today is a really important one. So for me, as I said before, I'm doing pretty well. I feel pretty good today. I don't have any swelling or itching or redness at the injection site, so I'm good there. Full mobility, all that good stuff. I have been, experiencing some mild headaches, but that could be for a number of reasons. So I haven't really talked about that too much because I actually have a cavity right here. I am Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit. All right, guys, it is June 11, 2021. 55 degrees in Kitsap County. Rainy, 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 rainy. It was coming down pretty hard earlier. It's lightened up a little bit. I've got a podcast for you tonight. There were a few different topics that I wanted to talk about this week that I felt were really important. And I just didn't get to those. But tonight, I've got to talk about this one. But first, we do need to do our COVID check-in because we've got a lot to talk about there. And the first thing is, the site is down tonight, so I cannot enter in my data for the CDC site with you on live tonight. So, as I was saying, I'm feeling pretty good. I don't have any irritation or redness or swelling at the injection site. I did say that I've been getting headaches like every day for a while, but I'm not really thinking that's due to the Moderna vaccine because I have a cavity right here, right in the back, and I'm waiting to get that filled, and that thing gives me problems. So I'm thinking that's what that is. But I, got the Moderna vaccine on Saturday at about 10:30. So now it is Friday. We're pushing in on 5-6 days, or 6 days actually. Tomorrow will be 7. And all in all, I'm doing pretty. I do need to report that Rob and Stephanie got the second Pfizer vaccine, and neither one of them are doing too well today. So Rob is sick. He tried to go as long as he could today. He woke up today feeling as though he was sick, like, kind of like a bad cold. I wouldn't say quite the flu. He didn't have a fever or anything like that. But he was definitely not doing well. He was himself today, even had to leave and go home early from work. So that definitely is a cause for concern. And Stephanie, who got her first shot, also is reporting the same issues. So she went home a little after he did, and she said she laid on the bed and that's it for her. So there's this kind of delayed effect with Pfizer as far as their report. So, his second thing on Friday, her first vaccine Friday, so a week ago, and now they are both feeling pretty ill, attributing that to the vaccines. We wanted to let you know that. Like I said, we're going to come to you and tell you exactly what we're feeling, exactly what our experience is. So hold anything back so that you can make an informed decision on what you should do, what you can do. Now, both and Rob did say that he is taking his vitamins still, his vitamin D, all that good, hydrated. So that's good. I'm doing the same. As I said, I got the Moderna, and I'm feeling pretty good. I really don't have much in the way of complaints. And so that's our update. And as far as Raymond, I haven't heard anything from Raymond today as far as, him feeling any kind of ill effects from the virus. I mean, from the virus, from the first vaccine. And he also got the Moderna with me last Saturday. So all in all, that's kind of your update for Friday night. The other update would be, talking with Kids at Public Health today, securing and trying to schedule the vaccine event for the 1-on-1 3-on-3 basketball tournament. So shout out to Kids at Public Health. Had a really wonderful conversation today with them. So looking forward to, continued collaboration and partnership and trying to help the community out. So really, really happy about that. But what I did want to do is, as I said, I wanted to get into tonight's topic. And it's a serious one and one that is near and dear to me. And I think I definitely need to talk about it and discuss it. So here it goes. Let me go ahead and get this going here. Bear with me. So today was the deadline for a grant. Okay. And normally, whoops, shut off my camera there. I didn't mean to do that. Normally, I would have, I try not to wait till the deadline for grants. It's bad form. And you never should do that because you never know what can happen. You can have a computer failure. You might come across information that you need to have that you don't have access to, especially if you're trying to submit it at night or someone else has that information. So there could be something wrong with the site. So do not wait until the last minute to submit your grants. You want to try to submit that thing at least a couple days early so that you can potentially deal with any kind of issue that you might have. Okay. So that is definitely a super tip for you. I have had that experience where luckily we were still able to get the grant, but there was something wrong with the grant site. And I think this was like a $25,000 grant we were applying for. Uh, and the site, it went down. You couldn't submit anything, right? And here it is. You have to have it submitted by midnight. And it was like 11:58, and I'm doing the best I can. I'm like, oh my gosh, man, I can't get this thing in, so I ended up emailing the grant and just saying, hey, this is the situation. Oh, matter of fact, actually it was a $5,000 because I did, hey, this is what's going on. So that was really important. My computer is saying I'm having some stream issues, so bear with me. Hopefully I'm coming through good for you guys. I tell you what, every time I'm going in on something that I think is really serious, I always seem to have computer issues, and man, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, is it a coincidence? Maybe. Who knows? All right. But anyway, this is CREEF. So CREEF is the Kitsap Racial Equity and Empowerment Fund. And they are a diverse representation of community leaders that have come together as a steering committee in partnership with Kitsap Community Foundation and the United Way of Kitsap County to launch a new focus area of the Unity in the Community Kitsap COVID-19 Response Fund called the Kitsap Racial Equity and Empowerment Fund. There is an ongoing need to address systemic inequalities which disproportionately impact Black and other marginalized communities. Meanwhile, there is an urgent need to address how these inequalities are amplified by COVID-19 with increased disproportionate adverse impacts on Black community. We are in the cycle where awareness and systemic racism and anti-Blackness is increasingly being acknowledged. Now is the time to focus on racial equality. So, this is the deadline for this grant. And one of the concerns that I have, and this isn't, to speak to, CREE for the United Way, or what's that, the Kitsap Foundation, is oftentimes what I see is the Black community kind of gets used as this proxy, right? We are the example of, okay, there's systemic racism, there's police brutality, there's this injustice, there's that injustice, and then it's stated and then it's switched to every other group, right? And so that is the experience that we experienced during the civil rights era, right? You think of, all that we went through, the assassination of King, the assassination of Malcolm, and then at the end of the civil rights era, white women got a lot of benefit from that. A lot of other groups got a lot of benefit, and as much in that way. And some of the things that we ended up being that we thought might have been good actually ended up being harmful. And so it ends up being a trick bag, right? And so this is just a concern that I see. So, when you talk about the Jewish community, or you talk about the LGBT community, or you talk about the immigrant community, right? You're just talking about that community. There's not a statement and then a switch to say, hey, we're talking about immigrants, but we got to make sure that we help Black people. You know what I'm saying? So, but when something is directly targeted toward Black people, it's stated, and then all of a sudden it's and other communities, right? And so this has just been a concern, and just kind of this overarching thing that I've seen, right? And this is the first time I read this, so this is just something that kind of just popped up into my head. So I just wanted to note that. And so I struggled with whether or not I was going to apply for this grant on behalf of Gather Together, Grow Together. And it's for several reasons. Okay. For us, we had our third birthday in February, as I shared with you before. And as we formed, right, we existed, and we were doing the work and whatnot. We have not experienced a lot of support in the community. Uh, as well, probably not too many people know, Gather Together, Grow Together was primarily funded by me, right? So that meant that the Bank of Cameron is what brought Gather Together, Grow Together into life, and sustained G2 for the longest time, and actually helped to sustain G2 during COVID when necessary. And so with that, majority of our resources have come from outside of the county. And so we have not been dependent upon the county and county resources for us to operate, or donations. And we do appreciate, and we're tremendously thankful for the fiscal sponsorship that we received when we brought forth our package in the very beginning for that short time. We appreciate all the personal donations, all of the volunteer times, and all that good stuff. But as I said, we have not received much support in the community. Okay, and there are we're talking about systemic, right? Systems that are in place. Now, this isn't unique to Kitsap County. This is a nationwide type thing. And I'm actually going to go over with you some of the questions in the actual grant and how I chose to answer them. And know up front that the way that I answered these questions is likely meaning we're not going to receive that money, right? Because I think where we're at now is what I talked about before, right? You have the murder of George Floyd that happened last year, but we can go back to the 90s with Rodney King, right? Black people have been talking about the systemic racism and the inequalities that have existed for us in this country from its very inception. And nothing, really changes, right? And so we've been saying, hey, look, they're lying, they're planting evidence, we're being overcharged, you're seeing all this in the news now, right? Where prosecutors are being brought up on charges. We've seen things where judges have been caught on tape, speaking disparagingly against Black people. So it's not just police, right? It is been all the way through all of these systems. Like, that's what that means. And so we have focused on, it's violence against government sanctions a Black male body, and that, right? Police reform, and well, no, part of it, right? There's all of it. We're overwhelmingly going to take a plea deal. We're not going to have be released on our personal records. Just on and on and on and on. And so all these things here, they exist as they do. And I talked about code switching. I talked about how do you exist in a system that is set up in a way and grow and thrive, right? You want to take care of yourself. You want to try to live the best life that you can for yourself as an individual, and then also for your family, right? And so at some point, as I spoke about meritorious manumissions and going along to get along, right? We're all guilty of that because we've got to play the game in order to sit at the table, right? If I am speaking out in this way and I have this full throated conversation about, racism and systemic oppression and racism and how it exists and who's doing it and why it's happening, well, most institutions, they're not going for that, right? That goes for the college, that goes for the military, that goes for the hospitals, the school district, goes for everywhere, right? It's just not going to be embraced in that way, right? Well, that person is a troublemaker. We're not going to get anywhere that way. And even your own people will get in and advocate against you so that they don't mess up their bag, right? Because it's all about the bag, and life is good, right? All things considered, well, we're not in the field, we're not in the house, we are quote unquote free. And as such, we want to enjoy the freedoms that we have, right? Well, you want to smoke some marijuana, you want to drink some alcohol, you want to go to the club, you want to send your kid to a private school, you want to buy a car, you want to own a home, you want to live here, you want to go and work at this job. You've got to go along to get along, right? And I'm trying to give you the full range there, right? Because we're not a monolith. You have folks that, Black folks are across the entire spectrum. And so, this grand opportunity came up. And as I said before, we don't get a lot of support here from in the county from a financial position, right? And not only do we not get a lot of support from a financial position, we don't get a lot of support, just period, the way that some other groups might get. And that's okay, right? Because the thing is we didn't do the work thinking that someone was going to all of a sudden throw a ticker tape parade for us. And the work that we do isn't particularly popular and something to really be celebrated, right? Like in this country, we celebrate our athletes and our actors and our musicians, and we don't typically support our teachers and our educators and our social service workers and things like that, right? We've got this kind of flip model of what we value and who we exalt and who we pedestalize as far as doing work that's important, right? Could you imagine if you treated I don't know, let's say Dawn Michelle, Salvation Army, like she was LeBron James, right? So she's doing the work where she should be celebrated like LeBron James, but most people don't know what she goes through and the sacrifice and just everything that she gives to serve the people that she serves, right? And so that's a good example of that. But it takes special people to get into this work and to do this work of the right spirit. And you'll see folks and organizations, right, that are doing it for the wrong reasons. And you'll know those folks because typically those people will be doing it for the celebration and the upliftment of themselves, right? And so you can kind of tell the difference pretty easily on who those people are. At the same time, you can see that in organizations also. And so their nonprofit work can be its own scam and its own racket, right? What do I mean by that? When they tell you to donate to a nonprofit, they tell you to look and see how much of those donations are actually going to do the work, right? You're not going to like pay the people that are there. So that's one of the things that they kind of warn you against. The other thing is do these nonprofits actually make a difference, or are they part of the machine just to keep the matrix in place, right? Are we trying to dismantle and disrupt whatever it is that we for the reason that we exist, right? So for us, are we helping people with their self-sufficiency, or are we just continuing to uh, you know give them just enough to keep them in their same place, and there's no change day in, week in, month in, years in, right? So those are really big concerns, and it's not always talked about, right? It just is what it is. But we do need to talk about it. We do need to have those conversations, and it is serious. Okay. So one thing I should probably share with you is what G2 is about, what our mission is, what our vision is. And I think to do that, let me just share this with you. Um, so our mission, gather together, grow together. Our mission is to use creative solutions to help low-income Kitsap County residents maximize the benefits of services they receive. Now, our vision is self sufficiency for all Kitsap County residents. Now, what we have done is we have shortened it up, right? Because we have so many people kind of come through, and you need something short, right? To tell people, okay, what do you do? What's your mission? Self sufficiency for all Kitsap County residents. Okay, all right. So, no one is going to say, well, our mission is to use creative solutions to help low income Kitsap County residents maximize the benefits of services they receive. Woo! Well, most people can't even remember that. So when you talk to us, we're just going to tell you, oh, our mission is self-sufficiency for all Kitsap County residents. And that means that it's going to look different for each person, right? And you may need to work on job skills, and you may need to work on people skills. You may need transportation and computer literacy. You may need job training. You may need someone to talk to, and just a place for a sense of community, right? You may need resources, just whatever it is. It's going to be different for different people. And so focusing on one point, I try to come up with cool things, right? We have these acronyms, right? So I came up with KEEP, KEAP. So focusing on one point, we're KEEP, knowledge, eligibility, access, and progress, right? So our communities are often unaware of resources and opportunities that are available in the community. And I've seen this a lot. It's one of the reasons why I started G2. When I used to teach at the college, I taught a lot of non-traditional students. And as such, what I would do is I would see two students in a room. Both are working at through DSHS or KCR or some of our other awesome organizations here in the area. And one would have food assistance, SNAP benefits. The other one would have food assistance and SNAP benefits. But then that person would also have computer help and extra um, tuition money or grant money or other programs, right? Um, and the other person is just struggling, right? This person got their car repaired by DSHS or some other agency. This other person got a computer and internet in their home, and I'm watching these two people sitting here with very similar situations, and the level of service that one is getting is starkly different and opposite of the other. I've also seen this with military veterans also, where you have some folks that are retired. They're using their GI Bill. They have two homes and a boat, and they're using their benefits and maximizing it, and life is great. And then you see another veteran who's using their GI Bill, but they're struggling and they can't really make ends meet, but they don't know what other resources are there for them to take advantage of, right? You kind of see that. And a lot of that has to do with knowledge, right? And knowledge is so tremendously powerful when you have it and when you don't have it, right? You have to know what the resources are, where they're at, and how they work. And so eligibility is that second thing, right? Our communities often either don't qualify or they don't know how to become qualified to access those resources or opportunities that exist. So, yes, many of us, know that Washington State is one of the best states in the country as far as social services are concerned, right? There's food benefits and there's housing assistance. And I mean, there's a myriad of housing assistance and job training programs and just a whole host of really cool things, legal aid. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, right? But if I don't know about it and I don't know if I'm eligible about it, if I'm not even sure how to go about becoming eligible, what steps do I need to take to become eligible, right? Then it's great. I know DSHS is there. I know KCR is there. I know St. Vincent de Paul is there, right? I know sometimes churches, well, maybe I know churches can help out sometimes with a gas or a hotel or something like that. But if I don't know if I'm eligible or how to become eligible for it, doesn't matter what I know, right? Um, and so, the third thing is access. Our communities often face difficulty in physically completing those requirements and obtaining the resources and opportunities, right? So we know that here in Kitsap County, public transportation doesn't run on a Sunday. So that's one of the reasons why we brought in transportation as our one of the main parts of our model on how we were going to provide services to people. Is really important to us, right? Kitsap County is pretty spread out, right? You want to go from Port Orchard to Silverdale, that's a bus to a ferry to a bus, right? And a transfer station. And depending on where you're going, you're going to be on the bus for a couple hours, right? We were taking a client to Gig Harbor. Oh, no, I'm sorry, to Poulsbo to go and see a foot doctor. And they were on the bus. And when they timed that out, that was a 5-hour day for them. For a 1-hour appointment, that was a 5-hour day. And, for those of us that are in a car where it's just a 20-minute drive, we're in, we're out, we can do some other things we got to do. And we're so much more productive in that 5-hour period than someone who is spending that entire time on a bus. It's, you're already fighting from behind. And how do you ever catch up if this is what it looks like, right? So that access is really important. That physical access is important. The physical access to those resources and opportunities. And then lastly is the progress. So in that keep, our communities often experience resources and opportunities as a one-off, meaning, okay, maybe I got to the point where they gave it to me this one time, right? But that's all I get is this one time. It's not enough. I mean, it helped a little bit, but it's not enough to really move the needle for me, right? Or it's just enough to perpetually kind of leave me at this stagnated level. So I can get this thing over and over again, but I'm not experiencing any growth from any of the services or the resources that I'm receiving. And so our focus point is keep, right? Knowledge, eligibility, access, and progress, right? So that's what our mission looks like. So we want to use those creative solutions to help low-income Kitsap County residents maximize the benefits and services they receive. We want to help. Our vision is that all Kitsap County residents will become self-sufficient, and they'll become that way through knowledge, eligibility, access, and progress, right? And I might should put an S in there and say support, right? So keeps. So that's kind of the program there. And as I said, this grant opportunity came up, and it's hard if you have to take a look at yourself and say, hey, I'm doing the work, and in order to do the work, I've got to play chess. The game is chess, right? So I can't get into the game of chess and start playing like it's a board. That's not the game. So you can't come in and then change the rules. Not how it goes. They're not going to allow you to play unless you come play the game based on the rules that are set, right? And so you tell yourself, okay, we want to get into this to help people. So do it ourselves, right? That's one of the reasons why we don't go work at a DSHS or a KCR or Salvation Army or any other great organization that exists. because many of them are, when they're larger in policies and procedures, so there's only certain things that they can do, right? I always say that to is like a dinghy, where these organizations are like the Titanic, right? They can't just hit the brake and turn, right? These big organizations around for a long time are these great, powerful pillars that do this good work, and so it has to be that way. Just what does that mean, Zulu? Elaborate there. Good evening, sir. Organization like this, like ours, we can pivot. We can say, hey, you know what, this person needs particular. You know what? Can we do that? Yep. All right, let's try that. You know, we can go ahead. And so that's kind of the advantage of being a bit smaller in that way. But you know, both. So it's like, well, look, if we ain't our own thing, that means that we can try to fill in the gaps that we see that the other can't do, right? If you're thinking about creating a business, you know, you're trying to question of what is the void that you're trying to fill, right? There's a point in creating a business at all this point, right? Now, if you're gonna, you know, be a sell paint, what's get different? Or are you gonna be cheap? Are you gonna use, you know, fresh ingredients? Are you gonna be? Is your delivery gonna be different, right? What gap are you filling? What void are you filling? Why will people resonate with what it is that you're offering, right? So that's the true reason on creating business and where opportunity comes. So for us, it's like, look, transportation is a huge issue in our community. Food insecurity is a huge issue in our community. Understanding resources are out there and how to access those resources is a huge issue in our community. Computer literacy is a huge issue in our community. Gaps in employment, soft skills, hard skills, all of these things are tremendously missing and needed in our communities. Be clear, as I showed you, our mission is for every Kitsap County resident, every county resident. Now that said, I'm a Black man, and I'm a foundational Black American. What does foundational Black American mean? It means that I'm not an African immigrant. It means that I was born from slaves. So you will hear AS, African slaves, or foundational Black American. There is a difference. I'm a foundational Black American. Right? So everyone are from Africa, but I'm an American born from a descendant of slavery, right? And so that's what I am. Board is 75% Black, right? And there are 8 board members, so that's 6 of 8. As such, we are definitely going to focus on Black people. Additionally, sexual Black male. And anti-Blackness is a huge. All right, let's see what Rain out here in the world is the facts. It's kind of set, taking it to the next level. You are playing chess while others are still connecting stock figures. Wrong. Got you. All right. All right. Well, I'm glad you're tuning in, Zulu, because this one is a tough one tonight. Like I said, I gotta go a little deep here on this one. So, at my conversation here. So, we're talking about, the knowledge, eligibility, the access to progress, the fact that, we're doing the community for all. We're here doing work, and there will be a focal point on Black people here in this community, right? Especially being on day. There also is going to be a focal point on hetero Black because that's what I am, right? And so time, right, down with patriarchy, we were relegated to silence. So we can sit in a room and we can support the other demographic group, but we need to sit back and be off our own detriment. And we were ostracized or canceled if we would do so and speak out or speak up. And again, we're talking about those meritorious manumissions and going along, get along, right? Again, I have a daughter that I'm trying to raise, you know, I have a career that I'm trying to cultivate. So if I try to buck that, then I'm going to lose. So systems out of fear and power, right? If you go against the system, you will no longer be the system. And you want your marijuana, you want to see, you want the club, the private, you want the good school, you want a nice neighborhood, you want equity in your home, you want to be able to buy a home, right? You don't want to have to move out of the county and go to work somewhere. You're to be for not. You want to earn more than $15 an hour. You want a wage. You want your kid better than you. So you got to compromise. Again, they're playing chess. You don't get to come in and play checkers. People actually do that. And even the people in their own group will make sure that you play chess. Everyone else are going to put you out for fear that the two will be put out. That's the go along, get along. It's dangerous. It's tremendously dangerous. Stand it. Time is it's. I can't lose my job right now. I can't lose my opportunity. I can't afford to lose customers. How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to pay my car note? How am I going to? How am I going to be able to go to the club? How am I going to be able to buy my clothes? The things that I want to do. That's going to be to do. I go against the system and I speak out against it. I got to go along to get along. The indoctrination. What is the term when you start to identify with your captor? The term escapes me right now. You've been held hostage for so long and abused for so long. You now identify with your captor. I don't remember what that term is, but that's that, right? And so now, if anyone speaks out against the system or the oppression, they're going to fight us, right? We're the crazy ones. Even though since before King, we've been saying, hey, this is what's been happening. Police brutality, this, that, other. Who are you going to believe, or your eyes? Even with the videotape. Oh, believe me, not your lying eyes. Your eyes are lying. And so things don't really change. Case in point, you have the murder of George Floyd, the government-sanctioned murder in broad daylight in the middle for everyone to watch and see. And did police brutality decrease? Increase? It increased. They didn't fall back. They doubled down. We're in the same pace in 2021 as we were in 2020 after the death, right? Why? Because we're complicit. We're compliant. We're sheepish. So you've got to ask yourself, okay, are we going to continue to go along to get along? Most of us will, because we don't want to be at worst, George Floyd. But two, we don't want to find out that, the degrees we worked for or the experience that we've gained, the salaries that we've earned or we earn can be lost or taken away from us, our status, right? Yeah, I'm making $40 an hour. I can't lose that. I know what they're doing is wrong and these systems are wrong, but man, you can't put my bag in jeopardy. So I'm going to go along to get along. That's the issue. That's why we're still where we're at. That's why we have people saying things like, oh, I can't believe it's 2021 and we're still experiencing this, that, and the other in regards to racism or oppression or discrimination. Really? Oh, we're a post-racial society because we had the first Black president. Really? Biden showed you himself what he had to say, right? You ain't Black if you don't vote Democrat, but you put more Black people in jail. Black men primarily. He's done more damage than Trump has ever done. And then it comes out that his son has these text messages that are racist. Okay. That's the go along to get along. So as I said, this grant opportunity comes up. And so the grant talks about, share your work that helps to end systemic racism through culturally relevant program services and activities. It also asks, the priority for this fund is for Black-led organizations and groups, followed by those led by other communities of color. It's priority. If it does not, please explain how your group is accountable to communities of color, in particular the Black community. And again, this is where I get very frustrated because it's a trick bag, right? So if this is supposed to be for Black-led organizations, for Black people, but then we kind of switch it because, well, there's just not a lot of those. Then, well, if it's another organization that does stuff for Black people, well, we'll hook them up. And what ends up happening is, again, you're trying to dismantle. This is designed for the Black community specifically, this particular grant. BLM, Black Lives Matter, particularly for Black lives, turned into a whole bunch of other stuff. Had nothing to do with Black lives and definitely had nothing to do with Black men. So how do I answer this? Because I could give the go along to get along answer. See, I was so torn. First off, this grant was due June 1, and then it was extended until today. I just turned this grant in a little while ago. And I have two versions of it. I have the go along to get along version to try to get the bag, so to speak. And I've got the, hey, once you become free, you no longer have to hold back because they're going to do to you what they're going to do to you anyway, right? As I said from the start, we don't really get a lot in the way of financial support from here in the county. So why am I playing chess? What's the need for me to go along to get along? Well, the need was to try to become part of the in-group, right? So that it would be easier to actually do the work and serve the community that we want to serve because, hey, we're going to have to compromise ourselves a little bit in order to do it, right? I mean, that just kind of goes with all things. But how much are you willing to go? So I'm going to show you what I submitted. So look, let me go ahead and read this question again. Let me go ahead and put it on the screen here. Share your work and how it helps to end systemic racism through culturally relevant program services and other activities. Here's my response. No such work exists to end systemic racism. I find this question offensive. All that we can do is help to ease living in a systemic racist society, especially for those in the so-called BIPOC community. For those of you that don't know what BIPOC stands for, that's Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. In the BIPOC community, who do their best to earn their meritorious manumissions through their thoughts and actions. For those of you that don't know what meritorious manumissions are, that was a legally sanctioned thing that Black slaves could get if they saved the life of a slave owner, they had an invention that helped out slavery, or they snitched on slaves that were trying to revolt or escape. Meritorious manumissions. And so today in 2021, we've got so many Black folks that want their meritorious manumissions. They want their butter biscuits. They'll sell out their own. They'll go along to get along. They'll keep the status quo going. And we look up and we wonder why the hell was there a George Floyd in the first place? Because if we had a Rodney King, there damn sure shouldn't have been a George Floyd. But no, we were all getting our meritorious manumissions. We're all going along to get along. We're all going to go ahead and play chess by the rules of the oppressor. And they say, hey, brother, you got to play chess, man. That's how it works, man. We all trying to get the bag. Don't mess the bag up, man. I'm going to have to go ahead and tell master on you. I'm going to have to tell the oppressor. And then you're cut off. You're cut off from your own group. That's a problem. So let me read that again. No such work exists to end systemic racism. I find the question offensive. All we can do is hope to ease living in this systemic racist society, especially for those in the so-called BIPOC community who do their best to earn meritorious manumissions through their thoughts and their actions. BIPOC gatekeepers will guard and protect the same systems they claim to be dismantling. White power brokers inquire about Black people to their purview and are told by those who they deem good or model minorities, and if and how much they should engage with that person or entity. So what am I saying here? What I'm saying here is, yes, on some level, you got to play the game. The white power brokers, they're the ones that have the money. United Way, Kitsap Community Foundation, right? These are the systemic organizations that exist. And I'm not saying that they're either good or bad. They just exist. And so what happens is, as a new player comes onto the board, a new Black player, right? They go to the Blacks that they know in the community. What do you think of such and such? And what ends up happening is they want their meritorious manumissions. They don't want the competition. They feel threatened. They don't want to share the bag. So they say, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't. Well, I heard. Oh, well, this. Oh, well, we can do that. Don't worry about. And then they're the gatekeepers. So even when you have organizations and white folks and organizations that want to come through and break through and actually do some good work, what you have are the spooks by the door that keep progress from happening, from change from happening, because, well, I need my meritorious manumissions. I can't lose my bag. I can't compromise my bag. So I'm damn sure going to tear you down and diminish you. Hell, it may even be there's nothing wrong with you. I just don't agree with how you think. I don't like what you're saying. We got to get Trump out of office. That's all that matters. That's what they told us, right? Oh, he's just this overt racist. Got to get him out. He's just hurt. Damage. Huh. But Biden told you to your face that he wasn't going to do anything for you. Kamala Harris told you to your face, I'm not going to do anything for just black people. And to this day, they have done nothing specific. It's platitudes, symbolic nothingness, intangible dust. Where other groups have received $50 million. Asian American Pacific Islander hate. And that's what I wanted to talk about earlier, because there's an article, I should bring it up, but I don't want to go there. I want to kind of keep this focus. But an Asian person shot a 7-year-old boy in the arm because he left his bike in his yard. And he gets a $10,000 bail. And when I found this article out, no major news source was carrying this, right? Because that's not the narrative. The narrative is that black people are assaulting Asians and we got to do something. And now Asians have to have the talk and protect themselves against the black community, primarily black men. But we're being killed, and somehow that's an equivalence. And we have been being killed, but somehow that's an equivalence. But immediately, those resources are there. But if you say that, you're cutting your throat. You're cutting your nose to spite your face. You might be cut off from your resources. You may be cut off from the support. People in the back rooms, they're going to make sure that you only get so far. He ain't one of us. He ain't playing the game the way that we're supposed to play the game. So you don't want change. You don't want to really dismantle systemic systems that are in place, because you benefit from the system. So that's what we have. We have these model minorities, the go-tos, the ones that the whites cozy up to and the blacks cozy up to, right? To keep the system going. As I told you before, what white supremacy is, it has nothing to do so much with white people, right? Because not all white people are racist. And not all white people are only the ones that are keeping these systems in place. And you see it every day through our BIPOC politicians that go along to get along. We have black judges. We have black cops, right? We have black educators. We have black business owners. We have black contractors. So if we have all these black faces in high places, why are we still in the same situation? Because we're going along to get along. It doesn't matter who you plug into the machine. The job is keep the machine going. Do not dismantle the system. That's why the matrix is as it works, right? That might be a little too deep for some people to understand how a black person can be a white supremacist. Huh? Like I said, so the black number will also often cut down another one, especially if they're not part of the group. They don't share the systemic racist points. This is easily identified through singing by blacks in this position. The acronym of singing is shaming, insulting, the need to be right, and guilting people in the outgroup, right? So some people will shame me. How dare you, brother? How dare you talk out against other good folks that are trying to do the good work here? They've been doing this and that for all this time, and you talking about that? Or they'll insult you, right? Or I'm this, that, and the other. They might comment on how I look physically, or my past, or whatever, right? Or They can't even hear your point and acknowledge it. They just want to jump in and give you the counterpoint. Oh, I heard what you said, but this is what we need to say. This is what really needs to happen, right? That need to be right at all costs. I don't listen, I only hear, and I'm only hearing for the break so I can get in and make you beat down my point or the guilt. Brother, you hurting us. You doing more damage to us than any white person. You shouldn't even be talking about these issues outside of the community. So singing, and you'll recognize it if you start to look for it. Shame, insult, need to be right, guilt. Black heterosexual males are chief recipients of this experience. This is what anti-Black misandry is, the hatred of Black men. We have been hated from the beginning, hated and feared. This is true both locally and nationally. Here in Kitsap County, a vacuum has been created by the passing of Bishop Robinson. You can also look at any committee and see the lack of heterosexual Black males either at the table or with a dominant voice. Thank you, Zulu. Furthermore, all of the issues listed below, which I'll share with you here in a minute, do not seem to correlate or trigger calls of action to rectify the problem. What are some of those problems? 1 in 3 Black men are felons, have a felony. We are overrepresented in homelessness. Our illiteracy rates are tremendously high. Our life expectancy is low. So we suffer in so many different demographics, but there doesn't seem to be any focal point except for to say, hey, it's wrong. Get your knee off of his neck. And then you shift and you say, oh, well, this community needs resources. That community needs resources. These women need resources. And you know what, Black men? You actually brought it on yourself. Like, well, wait a minute. I thought you just said there's systemic racism. Well, if there's systemic racism and I'm suffering in all these systems and all these categories, how the hell could I have brought it on myself? Damn, talk about victim blaming. You know, I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they were talking about how when you think about reparations, right, the hard conversation is not only does America need to pay reparations, but Black people aren't ready to say that Africa owes us reparations also. The white man didn't steal us from Africa. Africans sold us. And then once we got here, then we were bred like cattle. So Africans sold their sons. And in the beginning, women didn't come over here. They had no use for the women. They needed labor. So it was just men. So Africans sold their sons into slavery for pots, pans, things like that. Couldn't afford to feed them, take care of them. So we were victimized by our own. So Africa, they need to pay too. This might be the first time most of you Black people have heard something like that. And we're here and we're bred. We were bred generation after generation after generation. We have nowhere to go back to. That's why many Africans talk bad about Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, right? We're not them. I don't know why they can't just do right. We come over here and we do just fine. But you still have your language, your culture. You still have your home country. It's a tough nut to swallow. So if we're going to hold white America accountable and we want reparations, then Africa needs to pay too. All right. I'm gonna piss a whole bunch of people off. Woo, boy, how fast am I gonna get canceled on this one, Zulu? All of that said, we especially strive to serve those who have not been cleared by the BIPOC gatekeepers or merely exist as tokenized seat fillers in meetings, or whose bodies are used as to leverage power and resources to other groups' agendas. BLM is a prime example. So in the wake of overwhelmingly majority of Black men being murdered by police, the last year has seen only tangible benefits for the LGBTQ plus, Black women, and the $50 million for the AAPI community, etc. Right? So just like the civil rights movement, supposed to be about Black folks, turned into every other group getting tangibles while we are left holding the bag. You know, it's so funny. Our saying now is we need to get the bag, you know, but the saying used to be you're holding the bag, right? You get left holding the bag. You're holding the bag because it didn't have shit in it. So go on, get your bag. Actually, I hate that term. So let me go back to the question. Show how your work helps to end systemic racism through culturally relevant programs, services, and or activities. As I said, no such work exists to end racism. All we can do is help ease living in a systemic racist society. So what we do is we intend to hold accountable those who feign support for Black males through conversations, evidence, workshops, and trainings. For example, if systemic racism exists, why do so many Blacks speak against and collaborate with other whites and IPOCs, even when those individuals or groups have damaged us? So you see that all the time, right? See, you don't like what I'm saying. So you'll work with indigenous or any other person of color or white folks, even if they have done the Black community dirty. They might have sold drugs to us. They might have killed us. They may have oppressed us, either as an organization or individually. But we'll cozy up to them because, see, they're not going to jeopardize that bag. And somehow we're always so forgiving, Botham John, of every other group. But when it comes to our own, there's no forgiveness. We should have known better. You know, you can't trust them Black people. You know how our folks are. Those are the facts. Look at all the churches. We're only 3% of the population here. but we're all spread out. I've met so many new Black folks this year since doing the podcast. Kitsap County ain't that big. Now you can shame me and say, well, whose fault is that? Is that your fault, Marwan? Maybe you should have got out there and you should have got to know them. Oh, well, but I'm not from Kitsap County. I mean, you figure folks might try to invite you in if you're the odd man out, if you're the new person. So again, you got to go and ingratiate yourself. Fall on bended knee. We intend to hold accountable those who feign support for Black males through conversations, evidence, workshops, and trainings. For example, if systemic racism exists, why do many Blacks speak against and collaborate with other whites and IPOCs, even when those individuals or groups have damaged us? Incarceration, media demonization, lack of resources and opportunity is somehow blamed on the way Black men who are oppressed by the system. How do we suffer that and then we're blamed for where we're at in our situations? Well, LeBron did it. Well, this one did it. Right? The token, the good, the buffer. You just need to be like, you should just work harder. But if this is the plight, if 1 in 3 Black men have felonies, if we're more likely to be homeless, if our life expectancy is so short, wait till I get down to the list of what we need to work on. Family court reform, education, affirmative action, targeted homeless programs, targeted unemployment programs, law enforcement, intimate partner violence, homicide police reform, targeted cancer campaigning, treatment and recognition, targeted small business support, Social Security and life insurance and family support, parental paternity leave, reverse voter disenfranchisement, Black male specific reparations for the transatlantic slave trade through the 21st century, and hyper incarceration. So if we're suffering all of this through housing, through employment, there's a new thing that's going on right now. I think this is starting in Florida. And what they're doing is it's like predictive crime investigation and trying to stop crime before it happens. So a Black kid and his family moves to another county in Florida because, he's smoking weed, got kicked out of the school. So the parents are like, well, let's move over here and maybe this will help him. Fresh start. Okay. So they move over there. The police, they find out that the kid has moved there. And what they do is they say, oh, well, you know what? We're going to go and visit him and say, hey, you know what? That's not how we're just here. We want to just look out for you and just tell you that, that's not how we do things here. And you can get a fresh start and yada, yada, yada. Now they visited the boy 14 times and went through the home without permission. It's like, hey, you mind if we come in and just talk? We just wanted to talk to your son and welcome you guys here and this and that. Now they're searching through the house. They don't have a warrant or anything like that. They find little baggies with trace marijuana. They lock the boy up for a week. And then the boy doesn't get charged because it's not measurable enough to measure. But you've already criminalized him and he hasn't even done anything. And now this particular policy is starting to move across the nation. So when you talk about the prison, the school to prison pipeline that has already existed, right? That we've known about forever. That as kids start getting sent to detention and everything else from younger ages, you know that there's a correlation between that and them going straight to jail and prison, right? That it's going to happen for them. And then you'll see in my stats here, the literacy rates for our boys. So we acknowledge the system. We have all this data on the systems, and then we turn around and then we blame the victims. Incredible. Incredible. Oh, yeah, it's offensive. Tremendously offensive. I almost feel like I should play it because you might not even believe it if I don't show it, right? Because it sounds so crazy. Like this couldn't possibly be real. Couldn't possibly be real. So we do intend to hold folks accountable. The one thing about being free is you have nothing else to lose. All right, I'm gonna play it, Zulu. I'm looking for it right now. And once you're awake and you really realize it, they're gonna do to you whatever they want to do to you anyway. It's so freeing. And you can not watch the podcast, but you're still gonna hear about it. It's gonna get out there. See, we're in the streets now. We're in these places now. And we're waking up to the point where we're no longer fearing speaking out about it. So when they say that the black man is dangerous, that is where the danger comes from. Because when you stand in your masculinity, whoo, man. So they'll have to try to dismantle it as much as they can. All right, let me see if I can find this thing. I mean, it was crazy. I'm listening to it and it's like, all right, this is incredible. This is incredible. All right, so let me see if I can find this here. I don't know if you saw the cops that did a pit maneuver on a pregnant white woman's car. Like literally, he gets behind her, turns his lights on. She puts her right signal on. Then she puts on her hazards. And within 2 minutes, he's doing a pit maneuver, flips the car upside down. It's a pregnant white woman. That's crazy. It's a crazy time, y'all. It is a crazy time. You need to protect yourself. Have your situational awareness. It doesn't matter where you go in Florida. Guy walks into the produce section, shoots was it a 1 month or a 3-month-old baby and the mother, and then turns the gun on himself and kills himself. This is in a grocery store. I mean, what? I mean, that's wow. All right, so I'm looking for this thing. Like I said, I hadn't planned on playing it, so let me see if I can find it. Should be in my history because I watched it earlier. Like I said, I consume a lot trying to stay on top of the non-mainstream media, the things that they don't share with you. And then on top of that, my which I need to turn off, my YouTube will like continue playing videos. So I'll look up and there's like, I never watched that. There's like just a list of different videos that were watched. It's like, oh, okay. So now I got to try to hunt and try to find this. So it's pretty crazy. Here we go. Here we go. Free use. Free use. All right, let me get my volume going here. All right, hold on 1 second here. Oh. Hey, boy, this is how we do things here. We just want you to know how it's going to be. Fair use. All right, so, here's the thing. You've got this predictive model, right? Well, if it's a predictive model, why the hell aren't they at every college campus arresting all the white kids that are partying and underage drinking and doing drugs? See, that's why we are charged with crimes at such a higher rate than else, right? You know what the crime is. You're coming at this boy who hasn't even committed a crime yet. Well, we know. But they know. Most of them went to college. They were doing the drugs. They were doing the underage drinking. They know what's going on there. Well, they're not over there. Why is it not happening there? He was in that town for a week. Come on now. That's the school to prison pipeline, right? No, another case in point. You ever wonder how um, DUI, which is primarily a white crime, people have 5, 6, 7, 8 convictions and they're still able to drive? I remember back when I was a clubber. We be clubbing. Everybody shout out to Ice Cube. And you had to be careful at the let out, right? Because all the police would be parked a block off or right there waiting for you to drive off because they know that they could catch people drinking and driving. But if you go to the nice spots or restaurants, nightclubs, things like that, in the white areas or upscale, not so much. Not a police in sight. Pre-crime, right? Predictive measures. Facts. Be clear, you need to know your rights. You need to understand what snitching is and what snitching isn't, right? Everything you can and will be used against you in the court of law. So your cooperation is designed to destroy you. You have nothing to say without your attorney present. You think that they're sweet talking you and they've got your best interest? This is case in point right now. I've watched so many of our people get suckered because maybe it was a female cop or maybe it was the male cop and he just, they try to break you down. Sometimes they'll try to good cop, bad cop. Where do you think those sayings come from? Good cop, bad cop, right? This one's an ass. This one talks to you nice. And then you start telling them stuff, right? All to incriminate you, to destroy you. Trace marijuana in these bags. Seriously, a fight. He's 16. Protect yourself. Cooperate at your own peril. It's mind blowing. Truly mind blowing. And we've got to stop operating from a space of emotion. See, we get mad and we're angry and we're hurt. And then when the police show up, oh, we running off at the mouth now. And then at the end of it, now is the gnashing of teeth, because now they've charged him and now he's doing a year, 2 years, 5 years. Well, I didn't want that to happen. Well, see, they no longer need the victim to press charges, right? And that's if you're actually lucky. Now you're lucky if you go to jail. You're not lucky if you get killed or disabled, shot in the back 7 times. Protect yourself at all times. They're not your friends. And even if that one's your friend, the system is not your friend. That cop could be a great cop. He could be a community cop or a community cop, really looking out for your well-being. But once you get caught up in that system, he can't help you no more. You're done. See that whole, spare the rod, spoil the child? That saying in the Black community, I'm going to beat your ass so the cops don't. See, we don't do that anymore, right? Now we out here acting crazy and wild. And oh, believe I haven't gone in, and I'm well aware that the police kill on average about 1,000 people per year. And that is a lot of people. But when you talk about the crime on each other, it's way, way, way too high. And it's crazy that we are so bold that we can destroy each other. So when it comes to the white man or the police, you're terrified. So it's been really weird. I was watching the video where this guy tried to rob a store owner, right? And the store owner ended up getting the upper hand on the guy. And then he's begging the dude not to call the police. Like, wait a minute. So you're reciting all these violent rap lyrics. You talking about what you're going to do. You terrorizing people in your community. Then you go and you try to do an armed robbery. Then you're begging not to have the cops called on you. Weak. Beta. All right, I'm gonna stop it here. Young Turks, if you want to check out their YouTube channel. Some of the stuff is good, some of the stuff is bad, but it's news nonetheless. This isn't something that you have probably heard in the mainstream media. So you literally are targeting kids. It's like Minority Report with Tom Cruise, right? Pre-crime. We believe you're going to commit a crime, so we're going to step on your neck as much as we can. And as soon as we catch you, there's no intervention, right? He got into a fight. He was smoking weed. They moved to a new district. They come and they visit the house. They don't try to say, hey, parent, you're struggling with a teenager. We get it. How can we support you? Community support, protect and serve. No, what they do is, hey, we're gonna start going through your house without your permission, and then we're gonna go and charge him with the crime. See, that's that guilty, and then prove yourself innocent. Bet you're guilty anyway. This is why this can't stand. This is why I had to write this grant the way that I did. The priority. Oh, let me finish this. So again, answering that first question, share how your work helps to end systemic racism through culturally relevant programs, services, and other activities. We intend to hold accountable those who feign support for Black males through conversations, evidence, workshops, and trainings. For example, if systemic racism exists, why do so many Blacks speak against and collaborate with other whites in IPOCs, even when those individuals or groups have damaged us? How is it incarceration, media demonization, and lack of resources and opportunity is somehow blamed on the very Black men who are oppressed by the system? No longer can we allow those who claim injustice while simultaneously participating in the oppression. The days of throwing rocks and hiding your hands is coming to an end. Our podcast requires intellectual honesty. To that end, I'm speaking in general terms. Not all. Not all. Not all. While that should go without saying, hit dogs holler. So, excuse me, not all. Not all. I like to say not any. But as you read my grant application and my response, as I said, hit dogs holler. Listen to who barks. All right. The priority for this fund is for Black-led organizations and groups, followed by those led by other communities of color. So this is what typically happens, right? The priority is for Black, but it ends up being the other. Please describe how your leadership falls under this priority. If it does not, please explain how your group is accountable to communities of color, and particularly the Black community. So now if I can justify how I help Black folks out, there you go. Sorry, my allergies get worse at night. Here's my response. The executive director is Black. 6 of 8 of our board members are Black. However, as stated above, this is meaningless for 2 reasons. 1, many who are current power and decision makers continue efforts in the spirit of the oppressor. the B in BIPOC, which typically has democratic, that should be a big D, political views, compromise by doing things the same way and going along to get along. Symbolic questions, half measures, and coalition building in lieu of black building does not dismantle systemic racism. See, it's important for me to state that, right? As I told you before, I was guilty of meritorious manumissions, seeking meritorious manumissions, right? So I fell in all these demographics: criminal record, GED, only completed the 9th grade, trying to reinvent myself, go to college, get your education. The one thing that they can't take from you is your education, right? We hear these things. Okay, got an associate degree, couldn't get a job. Got a bachelor's degree. Well, then there's a motivation. Still hard to get a job, actually. But at that time, there was a woman and we were going to do our masters together and then get married. So, there was that. But I got $50,000 in student debt. I got to go along to get along now, right? I'm big, black, and scary just because I exist. I'm a threat. I'm dangerous. So I better smile. How you doing? Awesome. You're awesome. I'm not a threat. Don't worry about me. How can I help you? I'll do anything I can to be a help and a support. And that is my nature, to be of service and to help. But I can never have a full range of emotion. That can't be the angry black man. I definitely can't show any vulnerability because that will be attacked. The racist attacks on me that have happened at that college, well, they weren't really, nothing happened. You're the crazy one. Oh, it's not that serious, is it? Matter of fact, you know what? We addressed your stuff offline. Your stuff didn't go through official channels. Well, and the people that you have issues with, they're tenured anyway. So, ain't nothing you can do, nothing we can do about it. Huh. Okay. I was doing a panel for the United States Navy at the end of last year. It was like November. And it was about equity and diversity. And so, of course, they asked the token, right? The one black male out of more than 50 employees in that department, me, to sit on this panel. I mean, literally beeline, almost tripped over their feet trying to come to me to ask me to be on this Tiger panel. Okay. Sure, I'll be on this panel. Had some conversations about it with some folks that I trust. Yeah, you should be on there. Like, well, I'm kind of like my dad. It ain't going to be pretty if I am. All right. So we're already in a telework state, right? Because it's COVID. And because it's a panel and we have multiple regions that I think we're able to zoom in, there was yard work being done. So I decided to do the panel from my office, which the office was closed because this was November, right? This is still, COVID is hard hitting. So G2 was closed. No one's there. I'm sitting in the window with the backdrop of the logo of G2 in the background. I'm telling my story. I'm talking about how my white foster parents from before I turned 5, how my foster brother and foster sister used to call me little N-word. That was their nickname for me. I talked about my experience growing up. Within days, I was called into the office and was told, well, you were not authorized to work from your office building. You should have driven all the way to Bangor to do the meeting, to do the panel. Sure, your office is a quarter of a mile away, not even a mile, and no one was in the office, but you should have done that. Okay, but no one was there. It wasn't like I was doing anything with my nonprofit during that time. It was closed. Then it was, because we got to move the goalpost, right? Oh, well, people reported that they were distracted by your logo in the background. They were distracted. Was it blinking? Was it neon? Was it flashing? What was this logo doing? Oh, no, nothing. It was just there. They were just distracted by it, and they just kind of felt like it was inappropriate. My logo? Huh. Okay. Wait a minute. Aren't you guys authorizing people to wear their favorite sports team on Fridays? So you can wear the Seahawks or whoever, the Sixers, or with the Clippers. Didn't the Clippers have to force the racist owner to sell their team? That's not a distraction. Didn't Robert Kraft get out of some issue with frequenting massage parlor or something like that? That's not a distraction? Huh. My logo was a distraction because I told the truth on the fact that I was only one of 50 black men. 50 black men. I was the only black man out of 50 people. That I had secret clearance, but somehow my nonprofit wasn't vetted. But one of the reasons why you hired me was because of my community relations, because of my nonprofit. And matter of fact, you're going to bring me service members and veterans who need that particular expertise. Oh, and you want me to facilitate courses that have to do with resources out in the community because of my ties, but somehow that's not vetted. So, because I couldn't wear my logo shirt to work, even though we are in a telework status because of COVID. So we're not even seeing people. People might get the wrong idea and think that you're advocating for an organization that hasn't been vetted, but we hired you and gave you this clearance. So we've vetted your whole life. If you've ever held clearance for the military, I don't curse very often. Holy shit. I think my application is like, I should pull it up. It's like 68 pages. They go all the way back to vet you. And they call everybody. They go all the way back. Remember Rod? They call Rod and talk to Rod because of the stuff, my childhood, right? And the crimes I committed that in my 20s. I still got my clearance, but my nonprofit's not vetted? What? So the local, they might think, but the sports logo is okay? Huh? See, it doesn't even make sense. Make it make sense. You can't make it make sense. This is what the system is. I would say to them, because you're trying to create conversation. People are like, oh, we don't know anything about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Share, you're so quiet. Well, one, my dad taught me, well, you just don't talk about your business. And people don't really want to know, they just nosy. But when I do talk about it, then you got to cut me down. So I'm talking to the government service boss, right? Now I run a nonprofit. I have employees. I have people that work for me. Quite a few, actually. And we're having a conversation. And so I can't remember what was going on. There was some kind of an event coming up. Maybe it was Thanksgiving or something like that. And I was talking about my employees, this and this and that. She gave me the dirtiest look. Looked me up and down and said, what employees are you talking about? Like literally, just like that. I was like, damn. And I was like, oh. She caught herself. She was like, oh, you're nonprofit. I'm like, damn. You just call me an N-word. You know what I'm saying? It's like, holy crap, man. That's my experience. That's not 1990. That's 2020, the end of 2020. That's my experience. Nah, it couldn't have been that serious. Oh, you're making it up. You're blowing it out of proportion. That's not. The disgust in her face. If it was an all-in poker hand, I'd have won. Because the face told it all. The tone. This is why I have to answer this question this way. This is why I had to submit this grant this way. The priority for this fund is for Black-led organizations and groups, followed by those led by other communities of color. Please describe how your leadership falls under this priority. If it does not, please explain how your group is accountable to communities of color, and particularly the Black community. Again, if it's supposed to be Black-led for Black people, why do we always make these concessions for every other group? And oftentimes, it's not a targeted thing. Remember, I started at the beginning. All Kitsap County residents, which means I'm going to help Black people, which means I'm going to help IPOC people, which means I'm going to help white people, which means I'm going to help LGBT people. So if I can talk about how I help that particular subset, you're going to give me the money. But how does that build Black businesses? How does that dismantle systemic racism? How does that not just continue to put every other group? It's so crazy because we come up with these damn acronyms, right? And all these different things: intersectionality, BIPOC, Black first. B is listed first, and then everything is last. It gets flipped on its head, and then everyone is standing on the top of the B, getting all the resources. Let me ask you. Juneteenth is June 19th. That's when we're celebrating it. Yes? That's how we've been celebrating it. Yes, is Juneteenth not on the 19th? Is it not on Saturday? So what I don't understand is why there needs to be a compromise to have this thing on another day that is not Juneteenth. See, I've never celebrated Juneteenth. My family never celebrated Juneteenth. My personal philosophy on that is, I don't have much in the way of celebrating the fact that we found out slavery ended late for many of us, and to watch other people come in and then celebrate or market and advertise themselves, other groups, when it's not about them. See, it's a problem. It's a problem. You know, it's too bad. We did a podcast, 2x2 Studies, me and Rev, and we talked about Black Lives Matter. And in that, we were talking about, I was making the distinction between the words of Black Lives Matter contrasted with the organization of Black Lives Matter, right? I agree with the words Black Lives Matter, hate the organization, disgusted by it. It's the same thing here. Hate the term BIPOC. I get it. It's an easy way to lump it all together so you know what it is. People of color hate that. Because you lump us in, and disproportionately, those resources go to the IPOC, and only those that want the meritorious manumissions. And if you do get something, it's such a little amount that it really doesn't make any fundamental difference in your organization or your mission anyway. So they get to pat themselves on the back and say, hey, yeah, we did something for y'all. Let me go ahead and change this D to a big D. Executive director is Black. 6 out of 8 of our board members are Black. However, as stated above, this is meaningless for 2 reasons. One, many who are the current power and decision makers continue efforts in the spirit of the oppressor. The B in BIPOC, which typically has democratic political views, compromise by doing things the same way and going along to get along. Symbolic gestures, half measures, coalition building in lieu of Black building does not dismantle systemic racism. Here's a Facebook post by one of our Black local entrepreneurs. So I came across this on the 6th, as you can see, 5 days ago. And it struck me so much that when I was applying for the grant, it was like, it hit me. So shout out to Daryl Dominic. He's got a new album out. Please support him. You can look him up on Facebook and see his album. Actually sounds pretty good. The video looks pretty hype. I've never understood the psychology behind why people are quick to contribute to build another's kingdom, that is already strong and thriving, rather than contributing to build their family or friend's kingdom who is trying to get it off the ground. Many people claim to be woke and against wealth inequality, but still put money in the pockets of the people and businesses who are already well off instead of shopping or using the services of hardworking people they know. Just something I've been trying to wrap my head around. Being an entrepreneur isn't for the faint of heart. I literally could have just copied and pasted that, and that would have just been the answer right there. And when I was talking about the terms that I hate, woke is another one of those terms because that term has been demonized, right? So we talk about the matrix as an analogy. We talk about blue pill, red pill, right? You take the red pill, your life will never be the same. You're going to see things that you didn't see before, and you're not going to be able to go back once you are exposed to it. Well, it's waking up. It's being woke, right? But per usual, white supremacy, the oppressors have taken that and twisted it and made it a negative thing now, right? So much so now that the left, you have liberals saying, oh, you're too woke. Cancel culture is a bad thing. See, it's not a bad thing when you cancel Bill Cosby. It's not a bad thing when you've canceled many of our other heterosexual black men. But then when it comes to you and yours, nah, you can't get canceled, right? Someone brought up a question. What happens in the black community is they tend to call black men gay as to mean is derogatory, right? Oh, you must be gay, right? You're acting this way, you're doing this and that. He's gay, right? You feminine. And it's a slight in the black community to heterosexual black males, right? However, the LGBT community, black women, right? None of those groups speak out and say, hey, that's derogatory. You need to that those people don't get canceled for that, right? So black women can call a heterosexual black man gay as a negative, disparaging word with no consequence. And the LGBTQ community has nothing to say. But if a heterosexual black male says something, oh yeah, well, we're done. Right? We're on an apology tour. You might be taking our music off of Spotify. Woke. So now the left has made it a thing where now it's negative to them. Okay, fine. Woke is already negative for the right. Goes without saying. But now you're too woke. You take it and you twist it. That's why they tell you, you should never love anything so much that you can't lose it. See, people will die on the sword of terminology and words. BLM, woke, being able to use the N word, right? Meritorious manumissions. If you take it from me, I don't want to lose it. So I'll do anything, sell out my own, help to be an oppressor for oppressor, to keep my own oppressed, not allow myself to ascend, but so high as not to offend. Hmm. Well, it's unfortunate. They take it and they twist it. You don't want to lose it. You know, when I first started the podcast, I was thinking about doing the podcast. It was advised by a lot of people. They were like, hey, are you ready for this? Because you're going to get attacked, right? They're going to come for you. You're going to get doxxed. They're going to demonize you. People aren't going to work with you. They're going to do all kinds of super negative things to you, right? And just become a thorn in your side. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you ready for it? And you have to have lost, I think, in order for you to be able to go forward, right? So they can destroy G2. Is what it is. See, because you can't love it so much that you will compromise yourself to keep it going. I'm just saying. So I thought that was a powerful quote from him. And like I said, I think it really just summed it up. But I had to put some bread around the meat because he definitely brought the meat. This is in response to the priority for this fund is for Black-led organizations and groups, followed by those who led by other communities of color. Please describe how your leadership falls into this priority. If it does not, please explain how your group is accountable to communities of color, in particular the Black community. Like I said, hate it. Hate it. Hell, McDonald's. Well, I got a commercial with Travis Scott. He's got his own burger. I'm catering to the Black community. Two, the communitas believe in a high tide rises all boats, Obama. And Reagan, trickle-down economics. While it is great, other white and IPOC organizations that help the Black community, they have a disproportionately received more resources and support. The saying, the white man's ice water is colder, is not hyperbole. We don't support each other and our businesses. I don't think I need to cite how long the Black dollar stays in the community as a result. And really, it encapsulates exactly what he was saying in his Facebook post. The timing is uncanny. So it ain't just me. It's a lot of us. And here are the stats that I wanted to include in my answer. 1 in 3 Black men are convicted felons. You can go to www.sentencingproject.org to see that article. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. Only 10% of 8th grade boys, black boys in the US, are proficient in reading. I don't even know how to process that. 8th grade, 10%. Let's say there's 1 million black boys in the United States. 900,000 are not proficient in reading. 900,000. See, this resonates with me. I only went to the 9th grade, so they got one more year. This is 8th graders. It's COVID. Pre-COVID, this is where they were at. Black men made a median annual salary of $42,120, which is only 73.1% of what the white man earned, 57,616. In urban areas like Chicago and Detroit, the numbers are even lower. $20 an hour is $40,000 a year. And many of our black men don't make that. But we want the 8th grader to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, but they're not reading at a proficient level in the 8th grade. And I listen to stories about how the IPOC community will do all kinds of stuff. I mean, they will kill for their kids. We're watching videos of white mothers dressing up in disguise and pretending they're their students and walking into the college, into schools. I think it was the junior high. Florida's crazy, by the way. We know what's happened, true or not. Accusations from a white woman on a black man can be deadly, has been deadly. Tulsa, Black Wall Street, 100-year anniversary. How relevant? So they talk about what they would do to, folks or the system. Critical race theory, they are out and they're hopping mad. They got their pitchforks out and they're going crazy. Critical race theory. Don't teach that to my kids. Parents and teachers. Pissed, up at arms, fighting hard. Getting legislation passed. %10 of our black boys aren't reading at the level. Predictive crime. School to prison pipeline. See, we all know about these things. We just talk about it. And then we victimize the victim. So who actually needs the resources and the support? It is often stated people need to speak and live their truth, and they are their own subject matter experts. However, we are consistently justifying our efforts and sadly, our existence. Tell us how much money you're requesting and how would this benefit your work? The maximum you can ask for is 10,000. Yeah, well, $10,000 seems like a lot. It's not. And again, the question was, let's go back up here, right? Show how your work helps to end systemic racism through culturally relevant programs, services, and or activities. Do it for 10 grand. We're asking for 30,000. Our organization does not do one thing. We have several programs that can operate as standalone businesses of their own. Transportation. You have any idea what we spend in fuel, insurance, car repair, driver stipends? Did I say insurance? Job readiness program, feeding program. Oh, by the way, we're in our final stages of providing meals to 100 or 100 meals a day, 2 meals a day. So 200 meals every single day, 5 days a week to kids during the summer in the school district. And we will be the first organization to do deliveries. So stay tuned for more information on that. And there is like no margin on that. So unless we get some kind of grant or donation for that specifically, we're probably going to be operating at a loss to bring that opportunity to kids. Resource access program, employment, computer literacy, and life skills. See, many of these can just operate by themselves. We could break G2 up into different entities. So we asked for 30,000. COVID has given us an opportunity to target areas we believe can help minimize the impact of systemic racism. Again, we can't end it. This requires education and acknowledgement of anti-Black misandry in and out of BIPOC circles. Again, the hatred of Black men, heterosexual Black men, is deep. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I can't remember what country this person was from. It was from one of an Asian country. And what he was saying was, it wasn't until I came to the United States, I think as an adult, that I actually met a Black person. But even though I didn't grow up in my country with Black people, we still had a term, a derogatory term for Black people. So keep in mind, this stuff isn't, European. South America, Philippines, Japan, Mexico, China. Black people are treated different everywhere on the planet. So it's easy to scapegoat Trump and Republicans. Other wing on the same bird. This requires education and acknowledgement of anti-Black misandry in and out of BIPOC circles. Black businesses, both of these are misspelled, businesses need support from their own people. More than money, we need actual hands-on subject matter experts in securing contracts with local businesses and government. While we fully expect not to receive this grant, our hope is that this will add to the back channel discussions. So let me make it clear. I do not advocate for anyone who is applying for a grant to answer the grant this way if you actually want the money. It is not in your best interest. But I'll tell you why I did that here in a second. The black male political agenda, family court reform, education, affirmative action, targeted homelessness programs, targeted unemployment programs, law enforcement, intimate partner violence, homicide policy reform. When you think of all the physical assault or murders against women in intimate partner violence, you might be surprised to know how much that is the other way. And the percentage is a lot closer than you think. I believe it's 8 percentage points off, if I'm not mistaken. Number 8, health, targeted cancer campaigning, treatment and recognition, targeted small business support, Social Security and life insurance family support. So we got to work primarily until we drop dead. Well, I mean, if the median income is $42,000 and many of us aren't even making that, what is your Social Security going to be? You're most likely not working for a job that has a 401k and matching and everything else. And even if it did match, it can match to 7%. What do you have to put in when you're only making $42,000? That's before taxes, not after. Multiply that by 0.8, you're going to take home about $32,000. Paternity leave, reverse voter disenfranchisement, blackmail specific reparations for the transatlantic slave trade through the 21st century, and hyper incarceration. Let's talk a little bit more about targeted homelessness programs. Because I think, again, the black male is so negatively impacted by so many different things, but yet all of these programs are centered around all these other groups. And why would you expect us to be able to come together and work together and advocate for ourselves since the beginning, we have been pitted against each other and then incarcerated. And it's dog eat dog. I think that makes it highly unlikely, and the reason why we find ourselves where we're at in the state that we're in. But let's check out some of the numbers here, okay? So I wanted to take a look at the percentage of homelessness by race and sex. All right. So how many homeless people are there in America? This is the state of homelessness in the U.S. 2021. This was done by, I'm sorry, I can't read that name. It's a little too small, even with my glasses on. It was last modified April 22nd in 2021. This is policyadvice.net. And they have some of the most interesting homelessness facts here. The average life expectancy of a homeless person is just 50 years old. We know for African Americans, especially men, our life expectancy is already lower than other groups. 39.8% of homeless people are African American. 40% of homeless people are African American. We only make up 13% of the population, but 40%, 3 times our population. 61% are men and boys. So out of all the homelessness, 6 out of 10 are male. But that's not how homelessness is marketed, right? It's women and children, women and children, women and children. So if we're only 13% of the population, but we're 40% of all homeless, and 61% of all homeless are males, Black men are suffering. We're in prison. We're homeless. We're dying. Life expectancy just 50. Hurry up and die. 20% of all homeless persons are kids. If that were to track, even in the 60% of homeless are men and boys, if 20% of the if 20% of the males are homeless, then that means that 40% of the males are men. But what do you always hear? 40, right? 20% of homeless people are kids. And out of that, only 40% identify as LGBT. But everything that you hear about homelessness is about women and children and the LGBT community. They are not the majority groups that are impacted by homelessness. The invisible man is what we are. The homeless problem is on a downward trend. Okay. How many homeless people are there in America? Approximately 17 people per 10,000 experience homelessness each day. If you're watching some of the not mainstream media, then you've seen many Black men and women that are being evicted across the country. As the moratoriums expire, Again, black men, median 42,000. Median means middle, so many are making lower. After taxes, again, you multiply 40 by 0.8, about 32,000 in take home. So many are making under that. We make up the most homeless. We make up disproportionate incarcerated, disproportionate being killed by the police. Don't have a kid and be on the hook for child support. Oh, because they can take what, 40, 50, 60%. So while you can tell them, well, you should have put a rubber on, you should have put on a condom, it's your fault. You take care of the child. Okay. But again, the woman is the victim. The woman gets the resources, right? There's a divorce, there's a separation. The man automatically not the non-custodial parent and has to fight tooth and nail. Even if a mother has drug addiction or alcoholism, right, and is in a bad way, the state is inclined to try the best they can to get the kids back with that mother. Even oftentimes in premature states. And then we label the black men as deadbeat dads. You know what they should do? We're talking about universal basic income and other things, and you have earned income credit, right? Tax credits because you got kids, some incentives because of the birth rate is declining, right? So they're going to incentivize you to have kids. You know what they should do? They should pay men to help take care of their kids because they pay women to do it, right? The women can't afford these kids. So how do you tell a man to do any more than what they're doing when the median is 42,000? Well, the woman knows that the median is 42,000. But see, society has these safety nets built in for her. So she can get housing and TANF and food stamps and everything else. Well, he can't be there. So how about you incentivize and support the male? Why don't you give them an earned income credit and pay them to be in their child's lives? I think it might be quite the successful experiment, right? Instead of punishing and draining the resources, what do you want this person to do? They're making 42,000 is the median. 900,000 out of 1,000,000 children at 8th grade can't even read at the level. But they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps in the 8th grade. See, it's their fault. And, with pre-crime and everything else, which we already had the school to prison pipeline, well, we're already demonizing these children. So when you have babies having babies, well, we've got to go ahead and continue to punish you and keep the proverbial neck on your throat. You'll never climb out of this. Very few. Very few. So if the male had that support and didn't feel like, the woman has these resources and the family and is working and might be collecting child support from multiple fathers, but they're paying 50% of their income. They can't barely survive. They're driving dirty because they can't pay for insurance. But in order to make a few dollars an hour more, they've got to take the chance and drive the car. Oh, well, go to school, go to do this, go and do that. Again, see my past, pull myself up from my bootstraps. So I'm not saying that I can't, that I don't need to try and make a change. Go to school, work 2 jobs. That you're working and working and working and working and working. And you never really get off. You're exhausted, you're tired, you're a frontline worker. You go to school, you've got a bunch of remedial work to do. How many people that I've advised that are working on their GED, grown, 30 years old, late 20s, 40s, English 91, English 98, English 99, English 101, Math 90A, Math 90B, Math 94, Math 99. Then you get to college math. Student loans, debt, job prospects. Oh, and your logo is distracting. The number of homeless in the U.S. is estimated at 500,000. 40% are black, which means 200,000. 5 times 0.4. Out of that 200,000, 60% are boys and men. 2 times 6 is 120,000. Lots of stats here that I think are helpful to read. Black people, families play a significant role within black homelessness. 40% of black people experiencing homelessness are part of families with children. Okay? Now, this is what stats do, right? They say, hey, the smaller number are families and kids. Trigger word, trigger word. So you heard family and kids and it said 40%. We got to go and help this 40%. 60 is bigger than 40. Damn the men. Families much smaller with children. Families have much smaller representation within groups. Like white people, 22%, and American Indians, 20%. If the representation of families within black homelessness resembled these other groups, the black rate of homelessness would drop from 55 to 42 people per 10,000. Understand the numbers. While numbers can be accurate, you've got to really investigate what these numbers are saying. But we continue to look at the number. Black male agenda. So if somehow we magically receive this grant, our intention is to continue to bring awareness of the plight of the Black American male, the heterosexual African descendant of slavery, the heterosexual foundational Black American male. That is our focus. And that's still within the scaffolding of what we already do. Speaking of, shout out to Phil Silva. Phil Silva just earned his bachelor degree from Evergreen State College. Shout out to Phil. One thing that I want to say about Phil is if you met him, what you would say about Phil is he is driven. He continues and continues and continues and continues. And so, even with the myriad of obstacles and challenges that he has to overcome, that he had to overcome, it is what he has done. I remember Phil back at Olympic College, and Phil never actually took a college course from me, if I'm not mistaken. But I did advise him. Very personable person. Sometimes might even get on your nerves, but he was someone, or he is someone, who has a good heart, who wants to do good in the world, and will continue to try. And I really appreciate that spirit about Phil, because I've watched so many people with more skills and abilities either not even try or quit. Not even try or quit. And so, again, G2 is a lot of things. Hello, it's official. I'm graduating today with my bachelor's degree. My name is on the list of graduates at Evergreen. And he sent me the link. The actual graduation is broadcasting virtual about 1 p.m. Congratulations. It's awesome. Counting down until graduation. If everything works out the way it's supposed to, then I'll be graduating early in June. It's coming very soon. And here it is. Good morning. You awake? It's official. My name is on the list of graduates at Evergreen. Congratulations, Phil. So many people would have long since given up or not even tried. And he persisted and persisted and he persisted and he persisted. It's because of Phil. We actually did an internship with Evergreen State College through Phil, through G2. That's what I mean about being a little bit smaller and being able to do kind of those unique things. If I can see a picture of Phil there. Okay, that's a little bit better picture of Phil. So you can see what Phil looks like. Okay. Phil let me go back. We go back to the beginning of what G2 is about. Gather together, grow together. Its mission is to use creative solutions to help low-income Kitsap County residents maximize the benefits of services they receive. Our vision is self-sufficiency for all Kitsap County residents. And again, whoo, boy, be careful if you're in WordPad, y'all. Spell check is not working in WordPad. Whoo, that's horrible. They can be like, did you not proofread your work? This is what I submitted. So that is me reading it without the benefit of spell check. But that's what it looks like. That's what G2 looks like. That is the mission and the vision in action, is helping someone like Phil when Phil needed it. That's what that looks like. So shout out to Phil Silva for graduating with his bachelor degree from Evergreen State College. You worked hard. You deserved it. You deserve it. And thank you for sharing that with us. And again, you know, for us, we don't need any fanfare. We understand whose lives we've affected and what we've done for them. And they show us all the time, right? Good morning. You awake? You know, it's official. He's excited and wanted to share that with us, right? And that came to me and Raymond. I do love our organization. I love the people. I love the people that we serve. I love finding the different unique ways to serve people, to help them. And I almost forgot to give him the shout out. But I think it's so perfect because you're not just one thing. At least I'm not. I can be for the Black community. I can be for heterosexual Black males and go through all kinds of stuff to try to help Phil achieve his goal of obtaining his bachelor degree, even though he's not in the community. Because it is what we do. And we will continue to do. And if you want to be a part of G2, understand that is what we do. We help everyone we can, regardless of who you are. Anyhow, kind of as a recap, I know I've been on here for 2 hours and 43 minutes. I told y'all I had one tonight. I literally was not going to apply for this grant. And you know, like I said, this was a tough one to apply for. And you know, shout out to Creef and United Way and Kitsap Community Foundation. Because if you're a big issue that we do, it doesn't matter what you are, right? Monday morning armchair quarterback, right? Oh, y'all should have did this or y'all should have did that. At the end of the day, they are making the attempt. And that is important and it counts for a whole hell of a lot. If you're going to call the balls, you need to call the strikes too. So thank you to all of those organizations and the people that are involved for trying, for making the attempt to change the system. And the thing is be clear. Nobody has the blueprint, because if they did, it'd be done. So nobody knows what to do. And no matter what you do, there will always be people who are going to criticize how and what you did. You should have did it this way. You should have did it that way. You didn't do enough here. You should have did more there. So don't worry about that. Go out and do the best you can. Make your mistakes. Learn from your mistakes. Get better. Do better. Try. At the end of it, I tried and I succeeded a whole lot, but I tried. I think the worst thing is regret. Of that, I won't have any of those. Sure, we can always say we could have done some things differently, but regrets? Nah, because I wasn't afraid to try. I wasn't afraid to put everything on the line, not knowing the outcome. Like I said, it could fold tomorrow. I didn't know COVID was going to. Man, if you told me at the end of 2017, hey, man, you're going to start this nonprofit organization, you're going to put in more than $100,000 into this organization, and COVID's going to hit 3 years later, and it's basically going to shut down the country. You're not even going to know how you're going to stay open. Would I have started G2 back then if I had the forethought that that was going to happen then? Yeah, probably not. I mean, you don't willingly jump off a cliff if someone tells you there's a cliff there, right? But you believe in something so passionately and you want to make a difference. And, for me, as I spoke about in many of my podcasts, right? I am an out group, and therefore many of the people in my organization are part of an out group, right? They're kind of like their own black sheep. Gather together, grow together. Gather together, grow together. So we're not part of the big churches. We're not in the in group for the street folks. We're not part of this organization or that committee. We're just here. We exist. We're the invisible ones. We're the ones that will fit into your organization if we kind of just come in, put our head down, and just do what you want us to do. Otherwise, we're not typically welcome. That's us. But man, I'll be damned if the folks at G2 haven't impacted many folks' lives, including their own lives. Definitely proud of them for what they've done. But as I said before, I have to understand that I can't love anything so much that I can't let it go or let it dissolve or go or understand that it could go away, that I cannot control everything. So it's here while it's here, and it's gone when it's gone. Yeah, while it was here, it was a good thing. And I'm honored to have had the trust and the faith of so many people who have believed in me and have put in so many thankless hours and have done things that, quite honestly, you probably couldn't actually pay them to do. I'm thinking about, Raymond. Shout out to him. Congratulations. He just took a job at the Kitsap Rescue Mission. And, I keep telling him he's on the G2 stuff, be an individual. I know you're always gonna rep G2. And he's like, no, brother, it's G2, it's G. I appreciate that about him. I appreciate Rob and Stephanie, both sick, still in the office, doing the work. And Ernest, tired, coming from deep in Port Orchard to drive and deliver. Yesterday, Thursday's meal delivery. It was fantastic, by the way. Salmon fettuccine, French bread, and a salad. Whew, it was good. It was good last night. And so my plan was I had made some salmon in the air fryer. And so I was like, well, I'll cut up some more salmon and I'll make it really meaty. I didn't get a chance to put it in there. I destroyed it. And then I opened up because I get two styrofoams, right? I'm like, I'm gonna eat some more of this. It was like an hour. Opened it up, it was salad. I was like, oh man. I mean, it's that good, Stephanie put her foot in that one. But my neighbor was over, and we provide meals to them. And so he was coming over. He was gonna give my daughter a drone because she's been asking for a drone, and we broke the drone that we had, and he just happens to be into building drones right now. And so he's like, well, did the guy come yet and deliver our dinners for tonight? And I was like, no, but he should be on his way. And he goes out of my house, and the Ernest was pulling up with his dinner. Man, I thought that was so awesome that they don't have to worry about where that meal is coming from Thursday. It's a cooked meal. It's a good meal, and they look forward to it on Thursday nights. Hmm. I do love the work. I do love the work. And I love the spirit of the people that are willing to give so selfishly of themselves. And the odd thing is there's a fine line between, what did my dad used to say? He would say something to the effect, from a Christian standpoint, that you don't go, like, God isn't gonna bless when you're just out there constantly tooting your own horn and putting yourself out there, right? Look at how I'm helping people. I did this for that person and I did this, and you can tell. You see what it looks like, right? And it's like, so what's your motivation? So it's great, people are being helped, but your motivation is dark. And it's great you're helping people, but you can see it. But there's a fine line between you're not being braggadocious and putting it out there. We do this, we do this, we do this. Look, look, look. Big me up. Pedestalize me. I'm a hero. And informing people what it is that you do in the hopes that you can help other people. I think sometimes it might be hard to tell the difference in those folks. But if you look, you can see. All right. I guess I should get off because I will. Oh, it's like 2:14 in the morning. It's not bad. I could keep going. But if you are applying for a grant, please don't answer your grant this way. For me, I think this is the reason why I did this at the end, um, why I submitted this grant this way was I believe that we will continue on the same path if we don't begin to call it out and hold our leaders, our people in the position, our decision makers accountable. We are so ignorant. Oh, Bill Clinton was the first black president. So ignorant. Disgusting. Obama comes along. And was it not Obama who did Blue Lives Matter? Didn't he pass a law in support of that? And then, like I said in another podcast, he came out and talked about how he couldn't, be more forthcoming, right? How is it that the Trumps of the world can say whatever they want to say? Oh, but the Obamas of the world, they just can't seem to say what they need to say. It's that holding that damn football that Linus or that Lucy and Charlie Brown, right? Lucy's going to pull that football every time, and Charlie Brown keeps trying to kick that damn football. Knowing Lucy's going to pull it. No, not this time. I'm not going to do it. I promise you, I'm not going to do it. Try it. And she pulls the football away. And that is the Democratic Party with Black America. You keep fooling your asses. And giving you just enough and stringing your ass along just enough to make you think that things are going to be different. Or at minimum, you're not going to lose what you earned. Your meritorious manumission. But you might get more, right? You might be press secretary. That didn't happen. You might get appointed to, what did Kamala Harris do? She leaves her seat. Does she appoint a black person behind her? Nah. Huh. And then she doesn't even see. She's getting scapegoated. So now we're going to have you deal with immigration. And what else did he put on her plate? Oh, voter reform, right? See, that's the token, right? Here you go, Kamala. You go ahead and take care of the things that can't be fixed. And you're going to get demonized no matter what you do. So fresh and so clean. I can imprison you by the millions and pass laws that would destroy black families. And you still will elect me. Because I'm going to tell you that Trump is an overt racist. And he says bad things about you. See, the damage is done. He's already appointed all the people to the Supreme Court and to the federal judgeship. Just words. Biden had destructive actions. And even now, the benign neglect, which really isn't benign, it's malignant. It's a tumor. And we just continue to go along and get along. Not doing it anymore. And I can't wait. I can't wait for a community person to try to tell me that I am not the type of man or person that needs to be around our Black children. So I heard about that. See, feminism and some Black women have lost their goddamn minds. When we hide behind our achievements and the things that we've done, and we believe that all of a sudden we're so much of an authority and everyone is blowing smoke up our behinds, and no one would ever speak out against you because, well, I mean, you do have this documented history. See, so many of our people do, right? Some of us are sitting on 10, 15 committees. So we're a power broker in every single room we're in. So we make the decision here, we make the decision here, we make the decision here, we make the decision here. Nope, don't mess with that dude. Nope, don't mess with her. Nope, you don't want to have nothing to do with that organization. Oh, you know what? We're going to go ahead and ask for the resources so we can cut them out of it. And the irony is that they're all arguing for diversity when it's the absence of diversity, because it's only their echo chamber myopic thought as they repeat themselves and grow like a tumor from committee to committee. And ask yourself, what has truly changed? Not only in this county, but across this country. What has really changed? Your life individually might be good, but what have you changed? Because only 10% are reading at their level. Because the school to prison pipeline is real. So you've been doing the work 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So you've done a whole lot of looking out for self. It's time. It's time. Well, ooh, boy, you know it's gonna get ugly. Oh man, like I said, the shame, the insults, the need to be right, and the guilt. Danger. That'll be called dangerous, a threat, maybe not even stable. I'm actually looking forward to it. Like I said, hit dogs holler. So when you speak the truth and you watch folks distance themselves, or the people that wouldn't come close in the first place, Be a change agent. You know, I was when I was at the college, I was called a disruptor by quite a few people. And that was in my meritorious manumission days, right? I'm trying to get the Butter Biscuit Award. Still trying to do right by folks. But I was trying under the adage of you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. We've gone through life, black men, especially heterosexual black men, have gone through so much of life disarmed. Our mere existence is evil and bad. Like I said, when you're awake, the good woke, when you're awake and you truly become free. Man, there's just something to it. You know, I still can't remember the character's name that sold Neo out and wanted to go back into the Matrix. And then, of course, he ended up dying anyway, which is always the case, right? I want to go back in. I'll do anything. I'll sell this person out. I'll take down the whole race just so I can get mine. And he's like, yeah, I'm eating this steak. I know it's fake, but I just want to go back to the bliss. And the people that died in the war on Zion and knew what the truth was, even to the end of some of, the fact that it was, it was futile. Resistance is futile. But your freedom comes through your ability to resist, whether it's futile or not. It's time to stand up. One of the most dangerous things a man can do is to talk about his brother out of fear or jealousy. Sometimes we talk about white supremacy, we talk about systemic racism. Your black brother will give unsolicited information under the guise of, I'm looking out for you, by tearing another black man down on information that black man didn't even know. See, even the wokest among us are guilty of this. And it so saddens me. I was telling someone, I understand that people have a past and a history, and I don't mean criminal history, but a history of not being trustworthy, a history of being selfish, a history of being divisive, undermining, weaselish, simpish. Talk bad about your brother, cut him down to erode the relationship between him and another, to make yourself a little bit higher, to show that you've got some inside knowledge or information. And to what end? The funny thing about Kitsap County is so many people aren't actually from here, and they're like, "Oh, I'm from here. I'm from here. I'm from here." Right? And most people are from harder places, and they talk about how, they're this and they're that. And it's like, yeah, but if you did this stuff that you're doing now back then, you might not be alive. you know? Oh, shout out to Solo 84. Talking about simp tails. Simp's gonna simp, man. My argument was, you're in a small town and we're all damaged. Again, not literate at, in the 8th grade, only 10%. Incarceration, drug addiction, alcohol use. So everyone's damaged and sick. And if we're going to change the community, we've got to find a way to bring people back into the fold and find ways to build these coalitions and these collaborations with ourselves, right? You're talking about Black and Brown coalition, BIPOC coalition, this and that and the other. I mean, we can't even work with ourselves. How are we going to coalition with someone else? But we coalition with someone else because we can't work with our brother and our sister, right? And it's okay if whites or IPOC or LGBTQ, if they screw us over, well, we'll accept that. But we ain't letting no Black person screw us over. I'll be damned. And we go ham against our own brothers and sisters. And again, we know all the data. We know all the stats. So we know what background they're coming from. We know their struggles. We know their trials and tribulations. But all of a sudden, we cannot be empathetic or sympathetic to their plight. We're going to backbite, destroy, tear them down, exalt ourselves. We're going to do all the things. And make it seem like we're magnanimous. Now it's comical. To me, it's almost like, I was watching Days of Future Past, X-Men, right? And so one of the best scenes is when Quicksilver saves Magneto. And so he's running around and everyone's just standing still. If I was a genie in a bottle, or however that song goes. And that's kind of how it feels when you wake up. Like everybody else is in super slow motion. And you're just looking at it like, I don't understand why they can't see, why they're acting like this, why they're so petty, why they're so sick, why they go against their own interests. We talk about, Democrats will clown people from the South, right? Low information voters, low education voters, folks from a lower socioeconomic status, right? Your stereotypical Southern whites. And they'll say, yeah, I don't understand how these people can vote against their own interests. And they can't see how they're being tricked. And it's so funny because it's like, Black people They do the exact same thing, but it's even worse. Y'all are just as crazy as QAnon. And again, when I say y'all, I don't mean all of y'all. I don't mean all. Not all. Not all. Not all. Again, we're trying to have an intellectually honest conversation. And again, hit dogs holler. So if you're hollering, oh well. Anyhow, probably no truth bombs for the evening. As you can tell in my voice, I'm actually getting sleepy, which is cool because I have been having a hard time going to sleep. Shout out to the homie Mina down in Mississippi for looking out for me. Got mad at me today because I hadn't scheduled my conversation with my doctor or talked to my attorney. I will be on it, I promise. Like I said, it's good to have people that are looking out for you, but they're concerned at the fact that, well, even Layla, Daddy, please try to get some sleep. Like, I will, sweetie. I promise. And so I tell her, what time do you go to bed, Daddy? Well, it's like 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock? Why didn't you go to bed? You need to go to bed. I know, sweetie. I'm trying. She's something else. I can't wait for her to see this new drone. It's pretty cool. I can actually fly it a little bit, so this would be fun to take to the park. All right. I do hope you enjoy your evening. Tonight will be our first official show with Tasia Green, but our second show together. We were going to talk about critical race theory, but I think I want to talk about something else. Might pull some of this topic in because I think it's relevant. Anyhow, I will see you tomorrow. I'm R1 Cameron. This is The Conduit. Until next time, try to break your chains, people, if you can.